Hello, my stamping friends, and happy Thursday. My name is Rachel Trout, and I come live to you every Thursday to do a free online card class. Anyone can watch for free, and then if you would like a card kit for the cards I'm making today, all you need to do is place an order with me now through Tuesday that is more than $40 before tax and shipping, and also before coupons if you are redeeming those bonus days coupons. And if you spend more than $50, I will double the card so you get supplies to make 2 of each. I will put a shopping link in the description when I'm done here, and please use that if you are taking advantage of the card kit offer. Today we are going to be using the Frosted Forest bundle. Now Stampin' Up! Has gone to doing some online exclusive products, and these are products that you will not find in any of our catalogs. You can find them exclusively online. That's why they have the name, right? So we just had a new release in July, and this was one of the bundles that was released, and it is a lot of fun to play with. So this bundle, so last week we used the Mediterranean Blooms, and I said that was the most expensive bundle in the catalog, which is technically true. I discovered this one is actually a little more expensive, but it's not in the catalog, so I guess I wasn't wrong. You get a lot for your money though with this bundle. So you have a stamp set here, 4 different sentiments and some tree images, and then the dies also will cut out the trees, and then you have more detailed pieces. This one is really cool for backgrounds. You've got details for all 3 of the trees, and then you can cut out 2 birds at a time, which is awesome. And then there's a third part to the bundle, and that is these masks. So we're going to use these today, and I'll show you the few samples that I've made. But there's 6 of them here. So 3 of them are for the pine trees, and it just adds different layers of color. And these are all labeled, so I don't know if you can see on the video, but these are A, B, and C, so you know which order to go in. They also have this little notch at the top, so you can line them up perfectly and get your image looking gorgeous every time. And then you have these that are labeled 1, 2, 3, and then they also have the notch, and so this is going to be coloring the trunk and leaves on your other tree. We will be using these today, and then I'll show you a sample I did with this tree also. But I only have 1 set of blending brushes, and I wanted to use different colors, so I decided we would just do 1 card with the masks today, and then you can get the idea of how to use them, and I need to get more blending brushes, clearly. Okay, on today's cards, I also wanted to show you the paper that we're using. So this is another online-only product that came out in our July release. Let me see if I can get it out here. This is called the Iconic Celebrations Designer Series paper. It's part of a suite, so there is a bundle, a Stampin' Die bundle that goes with this also. But the paper is really fun. There are Christmas patterns, there are fall patterns, lots of variety. So you can see some of these are more holiday themed, but they don't necessarily have to be. Like, this is just a nice greenery background. Hearts, so you could even think ahead to Valentine's Day. I love the plaid. Who else loves plaid? Make sure you comment and let me know. I will be drawing winners from the comments to send our 3 cards that I make today to. And I know I am behind on sending out those cards, but my goal is to have them all sent out by the end of tomorrow. So if you are waiting for one, actually I haven't picked too many of the winners yet, so maybe you'll get surprised this afternoon and you'll win one, and it will be on its way to you very soon. Do you like the fireworks here for New Year's? Love this piece. We're going to use this on our first card, these moody mauve trees. This could even be birthday candles right here. We're also using the back of this one on our second card. I think this piece right here, I love both sides, so I wish they weren't on the same piece of paper because I like those the best. Pumpkins for fall or Halloween, and I love the back of this one too, that pecan pie stripe. Got some stars here. These are more of like a Hanukkah theme if you celebrate Hanukkah. I know we haven't had a ton of Hanukkah products in the past, so that's nice that they included that, if that is something you celebrate. Another nice stripe pattern here, and this is a good masculine one for masculine cards. Moody Mauve stars, and then look at this. This is a great confetti background for New Year's or birthdays. So that's the paper that we'll be using on all 3 of our cards today. And this paper I will also be using for my Christmas card club this month. So a sneak peek of that will be coming shortly once I get it designed. Okay, let's move on to the cards for today. So like I said, we're going to use that Moody Mauve paper on our first one and create a nice wintry birthday card. So birthdays don't stop just because it's Christmas. If you have someone in your life whose birthday is close to Christmas or during the winter time, this would be a great card for them. Now, if you order and get the card kit this week, this is exactly what you will get, is what you see me dump out of this envelope to give you an idea. So you provide your own stamps and inks and adhesives. If you don't have this bundle yet, you can add that as part of your order. And I'm using the same twine and embellishments in all 3 cards. So you can use something that you have, or you can add those to your order as well. So for this one, we have a Moody Mauve card base, 5.5 by 8.5, and we will fold that in half. And then I have a piece here of basic white that's 5.25 by 4, and I have embossed this with our Snowflake Sky 3D embossing folder. I believe this one has also gone to an online exclusive. It was in a catalog, but I think it's just online now. So we're going to adhere that to our card base here. And I like the just monochromatic look of this card. I kind of drew that inspiration from the Designer Series paper. So here is our strip of Designer Series paper, and this one measures 2 by 5.5. And we're going to just put that across the bottom of our card. So it's going to line up with the edges here. See if I can get that straight. There we go. Then I have another piece of Moody Mauve here that is 3.25 by 4.25, and a piece of white that is 3 by 4. And we're going to do some stamping on our white. And let's see here. I always forget to bring my scrap paper in. I'm sure I have something around here I can use. This will work. Okay. So I'm going to stamp off the edge a little bit. So I have this smaller tree stamp from the stamp set, and to continue our monochromatic theme, we're going to go with Moody Mauve ink. And I'm just going to stamp the trees across this piece of white to create a background. So I want to make sure that most of my bottom edge is covered up, but it doesn't have to necessarily go all the way to the bottom. And I'm going to stamp the trees at different heights, and you can overlap them. And you should be able to get about 5 across, depending on how closely you put them together. And I'm just going to add a 5th one in here to finish off the side there. So there's our little background with the trees. And since I have my ink out, I have a little basic white tag here that I've cut with the Greetings of the Season dies. And I'm going to do the birthday sentiment also in Moody Mauve ink. Right on that tag. And we'll close up our ink here. All right, so I'm going to layer this onto my Moody Mauve. Aren't those trees pretty in Moody Mauve ink? I think so. I mean, trees aren't really that color, but when you're stamping, you can use whatever colors you want. I think I forgot to grab my dimensionals. Let me get out a new package real quick. Hold on. I knew I was going to forget something today because my brain is still a little bit in vacation mode. We've been back from vacation for a week now, but we were on Eastern time, which is 3 hours time difference from us right now. And that time difference kind of took it all out of me on the way back. I've been hitting a wall every afternoon, just being tired. And my kids are finally starting to wake back up at their normal time. The first couple days that we were home, they were awake by like 5 a.m. So thankfully, that is not the case anymore. Although it was nice for us to get an early start to the day, I will say that. Okay, so pop that layer up with dimensionals. And then we're also going to pop our tag up with dimensionals. And I just kind of put it down in this corner. Now you'll notice it does have the tag hole, so you can wrap your twine through there if you want. For our twine today, I'm using our In Color twine. So it comes with all of our 2023 to 2025 in colors. And even though some of the colors are not exact matches for the colors in the designer series paper, they actually go really well together. So you could also use linen thread or any ribbon you have that coordinates. So what we are going to do is I'm going to pull some of the threads out of this twine. So it's kind of thick, and you can leave it like that if you would like. But I like to make it a little bit finer. So let me find an end here, and we're going to pull 2 strands out because I want to tie a double bow. So once you find an end, you can just pull, and you'll pull that right out. And then you've got kind of a narrower and a different look for your twine. So if you don't like it quite as bulky, this is a good solution. Okay, so now I'm going to take these 2 and we'll tie a double bow, and this is way too long, but that's okay. We will trim it. So I don't want a huge bow because I don't want to cover up my words. And we'll cut the ends off here. And then I'm just going to add that over the hole in the tag with a glue dot. And you can decide if you want your bow to face this way. I think I'm going to face mine this way. You just kind of want to futz with it a little bit so that it's not covering up your words too much. There we go. Okay, then we're going to finish off with our embellishment. These are called Pecan Pie and Clear Ribboned Adhesive Back Dots. And this is another online exclusive product. So I don't know if you can see, but there are like little silvery, I suppose they're ribbons. That's why they're called ribboned embellishments. And we're going to use some of the clear ones today. Now sometimes these come up with the sticky end of the Take Your Pick tool, and sometimes they're stubborn, just the type of embellishment they are. So I'm going to use my pokey end, and we're just going to add a few of these into our sky. And you can add as many as you want. Odd numbers are good, so you could do 5, you could do 3, could get crazy and do 7. But there is our first card. Let me know what you think of that one in the comments. I think the Moody Mob is so pretty. So, all right, I'm sticking this card in an envelope. So next week I will draw winners for these cards. So make sure you're commenting and interacting, and I will draw a winner from the comments next week. Okay, on to our second card. This one uses that beautiful snowflake pattern of the designer series paper, and I'm going to do a little watercolor background today. I know watercoloring is one of my favorite ways to create a background, and maybe some of you are curious about how I do that and the technique that I use, so I thought I would just do a small one today and show you. So we're starting with a thick basic white card base for this one, 5.5 by 8.5, and we will fold that in half. I did score it, but it didn't want to fold on that score line today. All right, I'm going to go this way. Then I have a piece of the designer series paper that is 3 by 4. And we will put that down and see, like I said, those Moody Mauve trees are on the other side, and I wish those would have been two different pieces, not on the same piece, because those are my two favorite patterns. I think I'm going to run out of them first. Okay, so these are the rest of our pieces. Let's see here. I think we'll do the watercoloring next because it'll need to dry, and maybe we'll even go to our third card and come back to this one. Okay, so when I'm watercoloring, I'm going to use our water painters. So these come in a set of 3. I pulled out the middle-sized one to use today. So the brushes are a little bit different. There is a narrow one. So that one is a little bit smaller. And then there is a wide one right here. So this one, I could use this one too. This is a little bit smaller background. That's why I went with the middle-sized one. But you could use this wider one, and I do use the wider one quite often for my watercolor backgrounds. Now, there is a spot here. You might be able to see it says push. And if you squeeze, that water will come up into the brush. I will say most often when I am watercoloring though, I like to have more control, because sometimes when you push and you squeeze, more water comes out than you want, and sometimes not enough water comes out when you want. So I usually have a little dish of water, and I just use it like a paintbrush. I feel like I have more control that way, but you can do whatever works for you. Now I'm also using 2 colors of ink today. I am using Boho Blue and Misty Moonlight. And what I like to do is I like to put some of the ink on my black. So you can do this with the ink refills. I know with our older style ink pads, we used to squeeze and get some in the lid, and then you could pick it up. I feel like these newer ones, it's a lot harder to squeeze ink into that lid. So I just take one of my clear blocks and press it into the ink, and then you have some ink to work with there. So we'll do that for our Boho Blue, and then we'll do it also with our Misty Moonlight. And I see Joan is watching, and somebody else. Hi, Joan. It is good to be live again after vacation. And I should be here for a while now. We have one more trip next weekend, but it's a quick weekend trip. And then school starts and life will get busy in a different way. Okay, so I'm going to start by adding just water by itself to my background. And this gives the ink a place to go. So when I add the ink to my, and I should say this is watercolor paper that I've cut with my Stylish Shapes dies. So you don't want to use regular white cardstock for this because it will pill and fall apart, especially if you add this much water. So you want to make sure you're using watercolor paper here. Okay, so now I have added water here. This gives my ink a place to go. So when I add the ink, it's going to go where the water is. And I'm going to start, I think this was my Boho Blue. Kind of lost track, they look kind of similar. So watch here. When I add the ink to the water, it kind of follows where I put the water onto my watercolor paper. And you can get as creative with this as you want. I am doing the Boho Blue at the top, and see I'm adding more water to my ink here. The ink will just spread better. If you are doing coloring with watercolor, you definitely don't want to use this much water because the ink will spread a lot with the water. If you are doing more detailed coloring, you want less water because it will spread out less if you have less water for it to move with, if that makes sense. So I'm just kind of blending this here. Now you could use your heat tool to help it dry faster. I think I'm just going to let it dry, and I'm kind of trying to blend those two colors together. You can also use a paper towel. If you get too much in one spot, you can dab it up. But I think that's pretty good. So you can go back in and add as much or as little color as you would like. I think this looks good for me today, so I'm going to move those out of the way. And we will let that dry. So maybe we'll go to our third card and then we'll come back to finish this one. But this is kind of how I do all of my watercolor backgrounds. You can just do one color and you can keep adding more layers. Like I could add more Misty Moonlight at the bottom. Sometimes if you want, you could use a straw to blow some of the water in different directions and you'll get different kind of textures in there. You can see the paper bends a little bit. It doesn't stay completely flat. So sometimes I have used a paper towel to kind of soak up some on the edge so it doesn't run. But if you kind of notice, that's where I put my first layer of water down and it's not really going past that line of where I added the water. So hopefully those tips kind of help you and you can try out your own watercolor backgrounds now. Okay, I'm going to kind of move, well, you know what, maybe we'll do the stamping. So this is a boho blue banner that I cut with my Nested Essentials dies, and we're going to stamp the sentiment in Misty Moonlight. And then we'll go to our third card and we'll finish our assembly once this has had a chance to dry more. Okay, so I'm going to tie my twine at the top of this banner. So I'm going to stamp as far down towards the bottom that I can, like that. And then I am going to move these pieces out of the way and bring in our last card. Okay, so this one is the one we're going to use the masks on today. Now, this might look a little familiar because the other day I shared one that looks like this. So this is kind of the same idea. I shared two cards with this layout actually. And this layout is pretty similar. I just changed a few things. So for this one, the designer series paper, I cut 2 by 5.5, and this one is 3 by 5.5. So it's a little wider. I used a different die cut in the background, but basically it's the same. So you can do that with your cards too. You can go back to some of your old designs, and if you like the layouts, you can copy them with new products or with different paper or different embellishments. And it's kind of a fun way to inspire yourself. So we're going to use the same colors on the tree because I just love those fall colors. I think everybody else loves fall colors too. So that will be fun. And then this one I shared with you yesterday. So this one I used the masks for the other trees. And my blending brushes I rinsed out with water because I only have 3 of them. And they weren't quite dry yet when I blended these. So the colors kind of blended together and got more of a watercolory look, even though that's not exactly what I was going for. I used Old Olive and Mossy Meadow, and I only used 2 of the masks. I think the third one would be good if you were like adding snow on the branches. That would be really pretty. So I just used 2, and I actually did stamp the tree image first. I don't know if you can see it a little bit on this one. I think probably you should stamp that after you do the blending. I don't know. We're going to do it the opposite way and it works well on this tree, but it might have just been because they were wet too. So I kind of liked how that look came out, but I don't know that I could duplicate it again. But that kind of gives you an idea how these trees work too. Okay, let's get out the pieces for this card. So for this one, I have a Cajun Craze card base. Now, you have to tell me, do you use Cajun Craze at times of the year other than fall? Because fall is about the only time I use my Cajun Craze. It's not a color that I gravitate to outside of fall. I think it's a great fall color, but not for other times of the year. Okay, so Cajun Craze card base, 5.5 by 8.5. We'll fold that in half. Then I have a piece of white that is 3 1/8 by 5.5, and the designer series paper is 3 by 5.5. So you've got the pretty leaves. There's also a polka dot one with the Cajun Craze that you could use here. So I'm going to lay that down. It will match at the top and the bottom, and then you'll have a narrow border on each side. And you don't have to put the designer series paper on a mat like that, but I think it just adds something. I like the mat. Okay, we'll kind of try to center that. Then I have got a crumb cake label that I cut with my Nested Essentials dies. It is the largest one of this shape, and I'm going to add that with my dimensionals. They're hiding over here underneath my card. One in each corner of this shape. All right, and then we will center that along here. Okay, and then I am going to do my tree. So I have a piece of white here that I've cut large enough for the tree. It's 3 by 4 3/4. If you want to cut yourself an exact piece at home. I have my Early Espresso ink pad, and I'm going to stamp the details of the tree in my Early Espresso. All right, so we will lay this down here like that. All right, now we're going to use the masks, so let me find the right ones here. Here we go. Okay, so you want to check and make sure your numbers are facing the right direction. Then you know your mask is the right way. We're going to start with number 1. Now, my number 1 tip for this is you need to make sure that you attach it somehow to your surface so that your pieces don't slide around. So if you have the Stamparatus or something with magnets, you can use magnets. I am just going to use masking tape, and I forgot I have a few pieces here in the corner. So we'll start with those. So I'm going to use one to hold down the corners of my cardstock because I don't want that to move around. Now you will notice that each of the masks has this little notch, so you can position those like you see over here. I traced it the first time I used it so I could line it up exactly. I found that I didn't necessarily need that little notch, especially with this, because you can kind of see where the branches line up. So I actually didn't pay too much attention to the notch. But you do want to make sure that you attach your mask, like I said, with magnets or with masking tape or washi tape, because you don't want it to move around. So I am going to do that, and then we will start with our ink. Now, if you like our masks, we do have a few other bundles that include masks, and I think they are gorgeous. This was the first one I had tried, and it was a lot of fun. So I didn't think I needed this bundle at first, but I decided to get it, and I am having a lot of fun using it this week. Okay, we're going to do pecan pie ink, and since we did the Early Espresso here, we'll still be able to see that, which is nice. My voice is getting tired. You can tell I haven't talked this much. All right. So for my blending brush, I like to put one finger here and put a little pressure on to just help it pick up the ink and work in a circular motion. And then I usually start off the surface of where I'm adding the ink on the cardstock. So if I was doing just on a plain piece of cardstock, I would start off the edge and work my way on. Here I can start on the mask before I get to the cardstock. And the reason for that is you get a larger concentration of ink, and you don't want one section to be super dark because that's the first place that you put the ink. So if you start off the edge, you'll avoid some of that. And then you can keep adding more ink until you get the color you want. So I would like it a little darker. So I'm going to go back in and add more ink. And I'm pushing down on my mask and my cardstock just a little bit, even though I have the tape to help them stay in place, because I really don't want that to move and ruin my tree. All right, I think that looks good, so we'll move that one out of the way. All right, so let's take this mask off, and to clean these masks is really easy. You can just rinse them under water. That's all I will do once I'm done here, is rinse it under water and dry it. Okay, let me find my second one. So I want number 2. So this one's going to be my larger area of leaves. And you can kind of see these line up with the branches. So that's why I said I didn't necessarily use the little tabs too much. You'll see on the third one it probably is useful, but you can still line it up. And the main thing to remember is you don't want it to move while you're working. Okay, for this one, we are going to use our crushed curry ink. So again, I'm out of the screen, so I'll move it so you can see. Putting a little pressure on with my finger to help pick up the ink. Starting off the edge. And then we're just going to add some color to that tree. Now you could choose other colors here. I like the crushed curry for kind of a rich golder look of the leaves. I'm going to use pumpkin pie for the next part. You could use Cajun Craze here. That would go with the designer series paper in your card base. So you can play around with it and see what fall colors you like. Daffodil Delight would also work for the yellow if you wanted. Or Lemon Lolly if you wanted a softer look. So really any yellow, I think. Or if you wanted to make your tree different fall colors, you could do that too. I like the yellows and oranges. Those are my favorite colors of fall leaves. And while we don't get fall leaves in fall here, at different times of the year, our trees do turn colors, some of them. I miss fall sometimes, but overall, I will take my nice weather winters. Actually, the other night, last night here, it was under, I think it was under 90 degrees. I don't know. It felt cool to me. It probably wasn't cool, but it felt really nice. Okay, last one, number 3. So like I said, this one, this is where you might want to pay a little bit of attention to that notch. But you can still kind of line it up, and I think it does kind of overlap some of those edges just a little bit. So I'm trying to think where I had it. I was kind of paying attention to where the notch was. I think it was somewhere around there. Okay, we'll put this in place. And this time we are using pumpkin pie ink. So same story, I'm going to pick up the ink on my blending brush. And then this is going right over the crushed curry ink. So it's adding another layer of color and getting that nice fall look. I will say one thing I am looking forward to about fall here is the temperatures will cool off a little. But I shouldn't complain. We had some really hot days, but in the forecast it's under 110, which maybe that doesn't sound nice to you, but Phoenix in the summer under 110, I will take it. Okay, let's move this one out of the way, and look how nice our tree turned out. So the masks are really awesome because they make you feel like an artist, and it's not hard. That didn't look hard to you, right? It's not. Anyone can do it, and the main thing is to keep your masks in place. So now we're going to cut our tree out with those dies. I will bring in my mini Stampin' Cut and Emboss machine, and all of the dies in this set will fit in the mini machine if that is the one that you have. Of course, they will fit in the regular size machine. I'll set up my die here as best that I can. And I gotta be quiet to concentrate. Does anyone else have that problem? It's like when you're driving in the car and you turn down the radio so you can concentrate better. Maybe you are at that age too where that helps you. Okay, so there is our tree. All right. So we popped this layer up with dimensionals, so I'm going to lay this one flat. And well, you all know my feelings on the green glue. So I'm going to use Stampin' Seal on the top. This is a little bit narrow for the Stampin' Seal, so we'll add a little bit of glue on our tree trunk. kind of center our tree on there. All right, and then I've got a little banner from the Stylish Shapes dies. We're going to get our Early Espresso ink back out. And this sentiment, the Thinking of You one, fits perfectly in this little banner. So just like that. Now the twine that we are using on this card is the copper clay, so it is not an exact match for the Cajun Craze, but I think they are the same kind of tone and it works pretty well. So I'm just going to cut myself a little piece like that. Because this twine is bulkier, sometimes with like linen thread or your regular twine, I will tie a bow to adhere underneath the sentiment. Because this is bulkier, I'm not going to tie a bow. I'm just going to kind of fold it how I want. I'm still going to use a mini glue dot to kind of hold it in place. And then we're going to use dimensionals to adhere the sentiment over that twine. All right. We'll arrange that there. I'm going to have it hanging off to the right just a little bit. And then we're going to finish off with a few of our pecan pie embellishments here. These are really pretty, and I think pecan pie is going to be one of my go-to colors for fall this year too. It is a really nice brown. All right. I don't know, I'm a sucker for fall colors, so this card might be my favorite. Although I really like the Moody Mauve one too. So you tell me which card is your favorite. Help me pick. Okay, I gotta stick that one in our envelope too. So make sure you're commenting, you might win that one. Okay, let's go back and finish our watercolor card. It is just about dry here. So this is one of the die cuts from the Frosted Forest bundle. And when you use this die, it cuts on all edges except for these little side ones and the bottom. So you do need to have your piece of cardstock cut kind of to the size that you want. So I cut this one 3 by 4.5. So it was tall enough for the trees, and 4.5 was just maybe just a tad wider than that bottom part. Now we are going to trim it. We're going to attach it to our background. Now the tree hangs off a little bit, and that's not ideal, but I also am in need of more watercolor paper, and I really wanted to show you how I watercolor today. So I had to pick a shape that would fit, that I could cut 2 of and still have enough of my watercolor paper. So I probably would have done a rectangle and a little bit of a larger background if I would have had more watercolor paper left, but it's a story of my life. August is hopefully my month to reset, catch up on my business, get back into a routine, and get a little organized, because my craft supplies definitely need some organization. Okay. So we'll put those trees down. I am not using adhesive sheets. Well, you all know I forget about those, but in this case, we're going to be trimming it anyways. And so it's a little easier to trim if it's not sticky on the back. Okay, so let me pop the lid back on my glue. Find my scissors back, and we're just going to trim that off. So I think I said this, but this square is from the Stylish Shapes dies. And then I have a piece of boho blue here. No, Misty Moonlight. That is 3 by 3. I am reading my notes right now about the sizes and the colors, and I said boho blue, even though my paper says Misty Moonlight. So that tells you how my brain's working today. Okay, guys. We're almost there. All right. So we'll put that on the mat, and then I did this piece flat also. And I'm going to actually put this closer to the top so we have more room for our sentiment banner. So it should be even on both sides, but a little bit less at the top. And then we have our banner that we stamped our sentiment. And we're going to use the boho blue twine. Now, if you look at this, so it's boho blue paper. I actually think the twine is kind of in between the Misty Moonlight and the boho blue as far as the color goes. So it works perfectly for this card. Okay, this twine is a little bit trickier to tie because it gets so curly from being wound up, but you can do it. So we're just going to tie a bow off to the left, and you want to try and pull it tight so that it's not loose once you get the bow done. All right, and I think that ends good. We're going to trim this one a little bit, and then we're going to attach this with some dimensionals. Okay, so I'm going to put this off to the side a little bit here. And then this one too, we're going to use some of the clear dots. They look almost white to me, but I think they're labeled as clear. Now, if you are really liking fall holiday stuff, just wait because our holiday catalog is coming soon. Demonstrators get to pre-order starting on the 6th next week, which is super exciting. There's a lot of good stuff in there. One thing that is kind of missing is Halloween. So we had a couple of Halloween products in our online exclusives release, and then Stampin' Up, since we have added some of the close to my heart makers to our family, Stampin' Up is committed to doing more scrapbook products. So we're going to have a scrapbooking product release in September also, and that is going to include some Halloween stuff. So that will be exciting to see. We have not gotten a sneak peek of that. We have gotten a sneak peek of the catalog. So that's exciting. All right, here is our second card that ended up being our third card. So let me bring these three back in, and then we're going to finish talking about the holiday catalog. Okay, here are 3 cards for today. Remember, you can get a card kit to make these yourself by placing an order with me this week, now through Tuesday. You need to spend $40 before tax and shipping to get the card kit, and that's also before any of your bonus days coupons. So if you use your coupons, make sure your total before tax and shipping is still at least $40. If it is over $50, you will get double the cards, so that's a lot of fun. And I will post a shopping link in the description once I am done here. And now let me see, maybe I will turn the camera around and finish telling you about the holiday catalog. Let's see here. There we go. Okay, I didn't put makeup on today, at least not very much, and my eyes are tired, but our holiday catalog is coming soon. If you want to get a head start on holiday stuff, you can add any of the products from there to a starter kit also starting August 6th. Or you can purchase a starter kit now with something like the Frosted Forest bundle. You can see the holiday catalog right now, and then you can pre-order with us starting next week. So that is a lot of fun, and it is a great way to get started on your holiday crafting. Plus then you'll get to shop all holiday season with a discount, so lots of fun. Maybe you saw my post from this morning about all the fun things coming up in August. So make sure you are a part of my email list so that you don't miss anything, because sometimes stuff can get missed on here. So definitely make sure you're a part of that. I will put a link for that in the description also. Thank you so much for joining me today, whether you're watching live or later. I hope you say hi, and I hope you will join me again next week. Bye.